Welcome back to Chloe's Curiosities, where we explore the things we're curious about. We're just gonna restart, actually.
Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to Chloe's Curiosities, where we chase the things we're curious about. We embrace discomfort along the way, and we explore what it means to live a fulfilling life for the individual. I'm your host, Chloe Laverne, of course, and whether you're watching us on the Afrovibes TV and radio app, our website, Amazon Fire TV, or the Roku TV, I am so grateful that you're here, and you're gonna want to stay tuned today because I am joined by Miss Leticia Gutierrez, who is representing the Congressional District 9 here out of Houston. So thank you so much for being here today. My first question for you is just going to say, who kind of are you? What is it that brought you here in Houston to want to represent your district like you do? And what is a discomfort you've placed in your life that has led you to this point?
Um, Great questions. I decided to run for the district because I've been living in the district for over 45 years. And I've really been doing a lot of the outreach work as it pertains to environmental justice, which has a lot of intersectionalities with a lot of the quality of life issues that our community is faced with. And so I've been doing that for approximately 12, 13 years. And I always tell people that I was living my life. I had gone to school for finance and economics, and then I had a couple of kids, and my son started developing upper respiratory issues. And so I just started getting involved in politics and figuring out better ways to hopefully bring some attention and some much needed legislation around some of the things that were happening. And so I didn't win my city council bid. However, I tell people that that was a blessing because it catapulted me into the work where I'm at today. And so I'm the government relations director for a nonprofit organization called Air Alliance Houston. And so we do a lot of advocacy work around the air pollution concerns with air monitoring and coupling it with data and research and a lot of community stories to kind of package it together and put it in front of legislators and lawmakers for hopefully trying to push forward better laws to protect our health and our children's health.
That's incredible. And I see a lot of things in the news. It's so scary these days. You go on your phone, you read a news article, you go, oh, all right, you put that away, I'm going back to bed.
Yeah, usually is.
And I have seen that the Trump administration has been tightening things on environmental agencies and the kind of regulations that have been put into place to protect the people. What would you say you would kind of advise to the viewers who are watching now? What can we do to advocate for greater environmental protections?
Those are great questions that I get asked very frequently. And I always say, find out who your representatives are. On the federal level, as it pertains to EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, unfortunately has been gutted severely under this administration. And, we did have some hope with, some of the folks that had started some movements like the MAHA movement, which is the Make America Healthy Again folks, who were starting to look at some of these disparities as well and trying to see for ways to not have some of the gutting, so to speak. But unfortunately, no one has really been successful in stopping the rollbacks that have been there for decades, over 50, 60 years, that were bipartisan efforts from both the House, representatives to put forth to protect community. And so we're very worried about a lot of the rollbacks because unfortunately it lifts a lot of the restrictions for industrial facilities to pollute in ways that harm our health. And so we already have a huge disparity, specifically in this district. You do have an almost 18-year less life expectancy compared to the rest of the region. And so a lot of that, um, isn't just the air pollution and the environmental concerns, but it's also access to green space, access to quality foods, farmers markets. I hate that I constantly have to go to the west side to purchase things that I would rather have in my community. Or when my kids were little, having to take them on the west side to be able to partake on, some of the more fun ways for them to play outside because my son, couldn't be close to the industrial facilities or else it would exacerbate a lot of his condition. So, there's parents who can do that, but then there's parents who cannot. And so we need to make this a more livable, healthier space for them. And that's some of the hopefully investments that I want to bring back into community as it pertains to infrastructure. And we also have some very high flooding areas there as well that community sometimes like me, including myself, with some of the extreme weather patterns that we've had, I was barely being made whole after the winter storm Yuri, and then we had the derecho storm, and so that was just a whole new set of things that I had to fix, right? And so these are costs that, in our region, people are grappling with just putting food on the table and then having to add yet another layer to things is can be very frustrating.
Detrimental.
Yeah, detrimental, correct.
Gosh.
It's a lot, I know.
No, that's exactly why you're here though, because it's people like you who I think are pivotal to kind of progressing humankind. If there weren't people like you advocating for the community and for the individual, then the top few people who are so wealthy that they don't have to worry about their water bills, they don't have to worry about do I have
Electricity, yeah.
electricity? Can I put food on the table? Are
Right.
my kids going to be able to get to school safely? It's people like you that give me hope. And as a gal from a small town, I'm not used to being in the city, having these kind of luxuries of, oh, I could go walk to the grocery store.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go, if I was back in my hometown, I was not going to go walk for 3 hours to go to the grocery store.
Right, right. What small town is that?
Oh, goodness. You probably haven't heard of it. It's called Teague, Texas.
I have actually. Yeah, it is very small.
A little dust ball.
Yeah. No, but I mean, look, a lot of these rural areas are starting to also see this district actually does encompass East Harris County and then all of Liberty County. And you do have some small pockets of rural areas there that are experiencing, not just the increase in trying to survive with their basic needs, but also, there's companies and industries that are looking to plop in and also, wreak havoc on some of the environmental concerns like, carbon capture, which is basically capturing carbon and stuffing it into the ground. And so they look for certain areas that may look, rural-ish. And so we have to be careful with that, right?
It's scary because they often target the lower on the poverty line.
Right.
And especially with data centers as well, I've seen that they tend to get placed in lower poverty areas.
That was, yes, that's what I was gonna, and thank you for, yes, segueing that in there because it's communities like yours that sometimes think that maybe you're far removed from what's happening in the city, but unfortunately, these are the areas that are being, so to speak, targeted for these projects to happen. And so we want to make sure that, they are being done equitable, that the processes are being done correctly. But currently the federal government is wanting to fast track a lot of these projects without community input. And so that's concerning. Especially in a state where we have state regulators, our TCEQ, which is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, who's severely underfunded and they can barely police what's on the books right now, if at all. And so, creating new projects and creating new issues to new infrastructures and new technologies is sometimes scary. And so we want to make sure that these are done responsibly.
I like that a lot. And, I think about the individual. I think that, especially in my generation, I have heard so many of us, or like people my age, are like, oh, did you vote? No, I don't vote. It doesn't matter. Okay, well, it's never going to matter then, I guess.
This is true. We do hear this a lot. I have a lot of young folk that either call me. I'm known for welcoming a lot of interns from various universities in and around our state to not just learn more about environmental justice and policies, but also the intersectionalities, as I mentioned. We have food deserts in this area. You mentioned about having to walk a long way. I mean, just imagine having to drive a long way as well just to get to a grocery store where you can get fresh veggies and fruits. And so aside from that, we want to teach folks also how to maybe have sustainable produce where they can grow it and teach them how to have their own farmers market as well.
So my next question was like, would you recommend people start like growing things from home?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Wow.
I mean, as food prices continue to go up, there isn't like a quick fix, at least not right now. Yes, voting does matter. We need to get these things under control. The Trump's tariffs, as well as the high gas prices and the grocery prices. I mean, everything is just, accumulating on the working class that is already bearing the brunt of a lot of the things, right? And so we have to look for new sustainable ways for people to be able to stay alive, right? And so
Absolutely.
community farms and farmers markets are one of the top things that I'm very passionate about. And teaching children also, like
Mm.
getting them outside to learn about nature. I feel that when you teach children about nature and how our role in nature, and how we don't own the land owns us,
All is one and one
all
is
is
all.
right, then they'll be more inclined to protect it and not hopefully do things that would impede us in the long run.
I really appreciate that because there are so many people who take it for granted. We only have this one Earth.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. We can try to go somewhere else.
Where I know they're trying
Mars.
to, I know they're desperately trying to find life and ways, but we don't have a planet
Mhm.
B, as they say. We only have one, and if we don't take care of it, this is our survival, right? I mean, this is
Exactly.
if the soil isn't fruitful, if our air isn't, clean.
Breathable.
Right now, with the increase of the heat indexes that are continuing to go up, we're going to see higher and higher, unfortunately, heat
Heat related death.
deaths, correct,
Yes.
which this county actually leads the nation in. Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes, we don't have enough trees. We don't have enough tree canopies. By the way, if you go on, people sometimes say, why is the weather feel a little different on the west side? By the way, I'm a community fellow at Rice University, and I talk to students a lot about around the work, but also real world experiences. But when I walk over there, it just does feel a little cooler. Well, it's all of the trees and a lot of the vegetation there that actually helps bring the temperature down. So, unfortunately, as we continue to expand freeways and streets, and especially in flood prone areas, it just doesn't bode well, for, again, our healthy, our safety concerns, around making sure that we do have a space where you do want your children to go outside and play. I remember when I was young and I was, like 6, 7 years old, and going to the park with my friends and playing baseball outside for hours and hours during the summer. I don't, and I know that, we get used to the AC, but kids these days, it's too hot.
They would probably have a heat stroke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Full confession, by the way, last week I was out, part of a vigil, and on the second day of the vigil, I actually almost fainted. I ended up in the emergency room. Mind you, I had my water bottle that I always carry with me, but apparently I was severely dehydrated. And so, even just having like I have brought it with me today, like I carry this with me everywhere. But you have to stay properly hydrated, which means like the electrolytes, and make sure that you're eating the right things if you're going to have extended period of times outside
Yes.
right now, because this heat will creep up on you. And I ended up having to have 2 saline bags to just get me back to normal.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
So again, be careful. I know sunblock is important in your water, but also those electrolytes, and just, make sure that you see the signs, because I didn't, unfortunately.
I'm so glad you're okay. You're
Yes.
here today.
Yes.
And yes, that is a great point. Make sure you're drinking your water 2 to 3 liters a day.
Yes.
And often what I see people recommend is adding salt or lemon juice to your water to help aid in the
Yes.
electrolytes.
Yes.
Or, there's liquid IV. I have liquid IV. I keep some in my car at all times.
I just heard about it, by the way. I need to go get some, because I have been putting all the other things, the salt and the lemon, because that's something that we do. Um, and so, yes, just make sure you stay fully hydrated.
Absolutely. Goodness gracious. I am lucky enough to say that I have not ever had to suffer from heat exhaustion or heat stroke, but it's exactly like you're saying. When you were younger, when I was younger, it was not this hot outside. Nobody wants to address it, but the fact is that climate change is no longer just a myth. It is proven.
Yeah.
And
Science.
the fires that people are experiencing across the world and in France, and even the extreme heat waves we're experiencing here, and like what you had to go through,
Correct.
that's not normal.
It's not, and that's something that we're trying to just elevate as much as possible. I know when we say climate, it sounds like such a big issue, but there's small things that we can do at home to make sure that we don't contribute to a lot of the emissions and the things that are happening to create a lot of the extreme weather patterns that are impacting all of our lives on a daily
Absolutely.
basis. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, our current administration is prioritizing profit. It's no longer just like, oh, he's some millionaire, billionaire, he wants money. No,
No.
they put in place different things that said if it makes profit, who cares if it's good for the environment?
Right. Yeah, it's all about trying to just squeeze every last penny out of whatever they can, again, at the cost of our health. And for me, I don't know about you, but I'm sure you can agree. you can't give me a blank check for my health. I mean, there's no price for our health. So, and
I
especially our children's health. Sorry. Yeah.
I could not agree more. And thank you so much for saying that. I feel like it doesn't really matter how much money you're making if you're dying living in the planet.
This is true.
But we're gonna have to come right back, you guys, because we're gonna cut to break just real fast. We're gonna be right back, I promise. All right, you guys. Well, welcome back from break. So I am here, of course, still with Miss Leticia. I'm so sorry. Oh, anywho, what my first question for you right now is just going to be, what kind of piece of advice would you say you have for our audience, who is majority like kind of collegiate educated people who are watching this, wanting to know what it is they can learn from this?
So I love students. I love young folk. I always say that they're the ones, you are the ones that are leading us out of a lot of the messes that have been created. And without youth getting involved, honestly, it can seem very grim. So then the nonprofit that I work for, we welcome a lot of interns, students to come and learn not just about the work, but ways to speak up. We have training sessions on how to go speak to your council members, how to come to the state legislator with us. In Austin, we actually take a whole caravan of folks to come and speak to your representatives and give public comments and help you with those public comments. We also have opportunities to go to DC with us, and just again, being part of the process, and learning more how government can work for you and against you. So it's
Are any of these kind of platforms available online by chance? I know a lot of our viewers, we are across over 180 different countries. Is there any kind of way people can access this political like advocacy from
Yes.
their phone?
So you can, if you go to our website, we're on social media. If you go to Air Alliance Houston, you will find our calls to action. And so it can be a phone call, it can be an email, or we sometimes will share the link to EPA hearings that you can come in and you can call and say, hey, I'm not okay with this piece of legislation, or maybe you are okay with them rolling back. Hopefully not, but yes, there are ways for you to get involved, which is very important. And I also tell young folks, it's not just about getting civically engaged and showing up to vote and, click for your favorite person, but it's also, advocating in your community and in your area, because who represents you does matter. And so just doing a deep dive as to who the candidates are, where they stand on the issues that are important to you. And we should all be accessible. I'm accessible. You can go to our website as well and send us a message, send us a question. How do you feel about, the rising rates of tuition, for instance? How do you feel about access for us to be able to have good quality paying jobs when we graduate? We have to make sure that those are readily available, and you have to have representatives that are staying at the forefront of those things.
And they're actually like fighting for what you believe in. If you are not actually like applying yourself to your politics, they will keep going without you.
Right.
And you'll live somewhere where you can't stand it. And it's kind of a piece of your own fault.
Correct.
Anywho, so that's just a little call to action for our viewers. Please look into who represents you. Why are you voting for them? And what can you say to them today? Maybe through a link in what she's saying, where you contact us, send an email, call your representatives. Like, I know personally, I'm like my personal Instagram and pages, I'm very politically active and I'm frequently talking about the environment because we have one Earth, which actually is a great segue. What are some of your kind of core principles about the environment that you choose to carry into your politics and running for Congress?
Well, I mean, protecting children and protecting our elderly community is one of my top priorities, because I feel like those are the two most vulnerable communities that some, they can't speak up for themselves.
That's so true.
And so, and when you focus on children, and children's health doesn't just mean environmental and clean air and clean water. I mean, those are important, but it also means good public schools, right? Good public schools are the bedrock of any good community. I mean, when folks, well, at least in my day, probably still some in, in your day, and in this time when you get married and you decide to have a family, it's always what does the schools look like? Right? You always want to be near a good school. You want to make sure that they're offering the things that you are, interested in, and that they have good teachers and good, administrations and whatnot. And so that's something that right now is unfortunately breaking down a little bit with
Uh-huh.
the privatizing of a lot of our public schools, which is not okay. I'm a product of public schools, so are my children. And so, it's not just, as I mentioned, environmental, is, yes, schools, walkable, bikeable places for kids to be able to, thrive in. I mean, we can't just have them behind the screen and just, watching TV or behind, because that does not make a child healthy, right? They need to be able to be mobile and go outside and experience the things that are happening outside. Their closed environment.
And I think that's so crucial because I've always said, like, curiosity and education as a whole is really the true catalyst to human growth. If you're not curious about something and you don't learn about something, then you're just a blob. Like, you're just sitting in front of a screen, consuming. And unfortunately, the truth is, these tech companies, that's what they want you to do. They want you to consume, consume, consume. And they're going to keep designing their algorithms to encourage you to consume more. So if you don't put yourself out there, you don't fight for education and to educate the youth, as you say,
Mhm.
like it's never going to happen. So it's people like you who I'm so honored to have you on the show right now because truly pivotal what I believe. Like education is everything, and the elderly and the children are truthfully the most underrepresented. So thank
Yeah.
you.
No, and again, in a lot of the pieces of legislation that we draw up, a lot of it has to do with, for instance, we have a lot of concrete batch plants in the area, and so making sure that we understand that development needs to happen, but it shouldn't happen, with concrete batch plants popping up near schools or playgrounds or where elderly care facilities currently are located. We also want to include hospitals to that, because if you can believe, there's a rock crushing plant that's getting ready to pop up, and they did get their state issued permit from TCEQ to pop up near the newly LBJ hospital, which is a trauma one hospital.
Oh,
And so, we're very concerned about a lot of the particulate matter and dust that these facilities emit, especially near a hospital where communities coming in sick. And so these types of things are what's happening. I
sorry,
know,
that's ridiculous.
I know. I hate to drop those bombs,
No,
but the other one is also there was a brand new uh, county led Harris County led park for children with special needs and just people with disabilities. And this park, community was railing behind it because they were waiting for it to open, and they finally did the ribbon cutting, and it's an amazing park. Only to find out a few months later that a concrete batch plant was getting ready to open up literally right next door
no.
to this park. Yes, because unfortunately, a lot of areas in this region don't have zoning, and
That's so
so
true. Especially for our viewers who don't know, Houston, there's like basically no zoning laws. So you can have a strip club right next to a preschool.
right. I mean, fortunately, though, there are some rules and ordinances that prevent that. But that's how it was before. And so we're trying to see if we can enact those types of ordinances, like we call them like the sexually oriented businesses that
Mhm.
have to be a certain feet away from children, that if we can do the same thing for concrete batch plants. But it's been a very, very heavy lift because the state right now controls everything. And so since it's a state issued permit, the state can also come in and just, do away with any local controls that we may have. So it's been very difficult, but again, I genuinely feel that if maybe on the federal level we can enact laws that we could come in and say, no, like there's already 8, by the way, specifically, and this is in East Alding District. They already have 8 concrete batch plants within like a 4-mile radius, and now it's going to be next to an all-inclusive children and elderly, citizens park. And so again, I mean, we have to ask the question, who is this benefiting, right?
Gosh,
You know,
yeah.
so we understand that development needs to happen and that businesses need to make money, but it should not be consistently, profit over people's health.
Mhm.
Because I always say we've done a whole cost benefit analysis of where if you have a sick workforce, how are you going to be able to have a good output, right?
Exactly. And going back to the parks and everything, something I've seen very frequently talked about amongst other kind of countries and people who explore outside of the US is where are the third places? In America currently, it's either you're at home, you're paying rent, or
Mhm.
you're at a restaurant, you're paying to eat food,
Mhm.
or you are in a park next to a concrete
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And I feel like it's people like you who are advocating for those parks to be kind of re-invited into the community, bring the community back to the people. Like there used to be like bake sales and things you could do in the community to advocate for each other. And I feel like it's a great way to kind of learn about your neighbor and host neighborhood watch parties and neighborhood
right.
parties and get to know each other. You know, life is all about connection, I feel.
Yes, it is actually, and a lot of campaigning has to do with that as well as relationship building and just going out and meeting people where they are and understanding a lot of the trials and tribulations that they're having to go through right now. And unfortunately, we also are grappling with a lot of the inhumane immigration policies right now that are being put forth, and that I also encourage young folk to learn more about that and to get involved. Um,
Ice out.
yes, I mean, please. I mean, right now, even our local law enforcement agencies that, are friendly to our community, understand that this isn't helping and this isn't keeping people safe at all. There's crimes that are being underreported because people are too scared to call the police. Even if they are here on a visa or they are documented, they're too scared to get questioned. And nobody wants to feel that way. I mean, I myself currently am carrying my passport, and you have to carry two pieces of identification to make sure that if you do get pulled over that they can identify. Because if you look the part, if you look like an immigrant, if you're speaking a different language, if you are at a certain type of work like construction work, landscaping, they're targeting these individuals, they're targeting our community. And unfortunately, they're also killing folks out here with impunity. And so we need to make sure that these practices are done away with. We have the constable's office, we have our sheriff's department, we have HPD, we also have HISD, school police. Like we have all of these entities that are constantly vigilant about making sure that criminals and violent criminals are kept off of our streets. As a single mother, of course, I want to make sure that my daughter going to school and my kids going to school are safe. So yes, we want those said individuals to be picked up, but not regular folk that are going to work, that are trying to go through the process. We need real humane immigration reform yesterday. And so that is something that is one of my top priorities, and that I ask you to get involved because unfortunately things are not going to get better. They're expected to get worse.
Oh,
And I tell people, even if you're not an immigrant and you think that this is not going to impact you, it is going to impact you. When you're
yeah.
continuing to scare, the pool of the workforce that pick our fruit and our veggies and our skilled laborers are also scientists, by the way. Some very highly educated people that are self-deporting, that just don't want to have to, be questioned and made to feel less than human. Um,
And what's horrible is like the fact that it's happening at all is just a nightmare to even think about. It really does make me think about late stage Germany, World War II.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, that's what it feels like right now. Families right now are too scared to even leave the house. I say that my family was even like white knuckling it just to go get basic necessities. Because again, if you see any sign of any law enforcement people, yes, they're going to run away because they think that they're going to be hunted and they're going to be assaulted, without a warrant, without any real jurisdiction or really probable cause. You can get pulled over for any reason, just for fitting the part.
I have seen that whether you have tattoos or a certain hair color, or if you just look like it, if they just look at you sideways or you look at them sideways,
Yeah.
oh, well, you're probably illegal.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Exactly. And you have to provide documentation. By the way, you know, US citizens are being picked up, veterans have gotten deported, veteran spouses are getting deported. I mean, this is just across the board inhumane and truly un-American. There's nothing patriotic about that. And by the way, my son is currently also serving United States Army. He's currently stationed in Germany, and he's serving proudly. And I can tell you, for the sacrifices that he and the families behind our service members are making right now, it's not fair for them to be hunted as well when their loved ones are out fighting for this country to make sure that we continue to hopefully enjoy the freedoms that we were promised.
Exactly. And so, what can, like, me as an individual, our viewers as individuals, what can we do to fight for this cause? Because I do believe I've seen statistics that the vast majority of people don't support ICE. I, if you do, we're not friends.
I mean, and that's, you know, real talk. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, when you have you know, a government that is operating without impunity after, you know, murders are happening with really little to no um,
Backlash.
backlash. Thank you. No body cameras, face masks, not identifying themselves. You know, these types of things are not okay. And this is again something that we as Americans are not okay with. And so I would say again, you know,
Talk about it.
talk about it, you know, get involved. If you're not registered to vote, register to vote. Bring your friends to come and register to vote.
Make it a little friend thing. Have like a
Yes.
little friend party, a little
Yes.
dinner party. Let's go vote, guys.
Yep.
Like, there's ways to incorporate this into every single one of your lives. There are no excuses for not having at least a somewhat political mindset to know that what you do today affects tomorrow for not only yourself, but for the people around you.
Yep, exactly. And these days you have 2 weeks of early voting. You know, your job is supposed to give you the opportunity to go and vote without docking your pay on election day. I always say don't wait till election day because you never know, especially with the catastrophic weather patterns in this area, as well as, God forbid, you get sick or something happens. So you have 2 weeks prior to election day to cast your ballot for your favorite, you know, election. But again, do your homework. These days you have the internet at your fingertips where you can, again, go research, go look at your candidates, go look at what they stand for, understand what's at stake. What is it that you're grappling with? You know, what is it that really speaks to you? And again, with the internet and emails and phone calls, you should be able to pick up the phone and contact candidates and ask them or where their next event is going to be. Usually, if you follow them on their socials, go see where their next event. A good candidate is always going to have listening sessions, coffee talks, town hall meetings. I friendly stalk my current elected officials because I need to get in front of them to get answers to some questions that I may have, right? And that's okay to do.
Yeah. So just real fast, this is your sign right now. Go follow the political people who are aligned with your political beliefs right now so that you can be up to date with what they're going to do, where they're going to be, how you can contact them. And, you know, if you're feeling a little extra spicy, a little extra American, send them an email. Say, hey, I liked that you advocated for this. I didn't
Yes.
like that you didn't advocate for this. I
Yep.
do want you to do this. And, you know, Afrovibes TV and Radio is going to be hosting an AI summit here upcoming on August 1st, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to be seeing you there. I post about it like every day.
That's awesome.
And I do believe that AI can be utilized in a way that does progress us as humankind. And you can use AI to find a political body or Congress people who embody what you believe in.
Right.
And you can even use it to draft the email for you. You don't even have to put in the effort to be like, hey, I want to say this. I like that they were fighting for the environment. Can you write me an email and send it? And it's easy as that. Anywho,
Yes, yes, absolutely. So great advice. Again, just stay plugged in, stay active, stay vigilant. And again, you know, people have literally died to make sure that we have the opportunity to show up and vote and really every demographic. So again, it's your duty. It's something that is easy to do. So thank you so much for elevating that.
absolutely. And thank you so much again for being on the show. It has truly been a pleasure to have you, Leticia.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure as well. So thank you and appreciate your viewers. Just, you know, again, staying plugged in and understanding what's at stake right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yay.
Okay, I think that is it.